Right, welcome to this terrain video. It's for putting propaganda posters, Imperial propaganda posters, onto your Warhammer 40,000 terrain. So in this video you can see a number of terrain pieces here that I've already put posters onto. Very straightforward here, but just adds some great effect brings your terrain to life and really sets it within the realm of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. So I've got a technique to show you here. At Games Workshop I've already made a video about it, but I've sort of done my own version here, and a way I think that can help you out. There's a couple of technicalities to get right with this, as I explained to you in this video, but it's a great way of adding a lot of theme and interest to your terrain. So hope this video will help you out. So I'll just show you a few examples first of all. So some very plain terrain, and then you can just add in these posters there. A great effect. Smaller posters as well. Gives you an idea of the kind of effects you can go for. The container sits at this height, that's sort of eye level height. Imagine someone standing there putting these posters all the way along. So gives you an idea. There, that's a piece of terrain from gamemat.eu. There's a bit of Games Workshop terrain here, a couple of posters next to each other. I think it's a great touch to add here. This is another one being added just there. There's a whole variety of them available. But in this video I'll show you how to add it to one of these terrain pieces here. It's a piece from gamemat.eu, and just looking to put it on a plain area where you think a poster might go. But that gives you an idea of what you can expect to achieve. I'll go through materials now, what you'll need. So for this project you'll need some PVA glue. That's what we'll use to stick the posters on, and also to protect them as well. Purity seal from Games Workshop will perform a very important function, as I'll explain. A good cutting knife, a very nice sharp tip on it, so you can cut these posters out. An old rough brush just for putting the glue on. Some Seraphim Sepia wash, and then the posters themselves. So I've searched the internet and found these. As you can just look on Google Images, type in Imperial Guard propaganda posters or Warhammer 40,000 propaganda posters, and there's loads of images that come up. And the ones that have been designed by Games Workshop, they would be on, if you go to the community page, and then they have a page for Imperial Guard fans. It's called the Regimental Standard. James uses it, I wouldn't use it as much, but it's like a propaganda type website. Games Workshop have put it together for followers of the Astra Militarum, and on there are some posters that have been designed by Games Workshop, and they do give you license to go and use those, and in their actual video they use some of the posters that they've designed, so you can find those. And obviously there's fan art out there as well. 40k fans have made their own posters as well, so there's some great ones out there. So I've got a whole selection of these here, and I'm going to zoom in and let you take a look at all the ones that I've found. So I Want You for the Imperial Guard, sort of echoes the sort of World War II posters here. Great looking poster, that one. So what I've done is I've put these, you find the images on Google and then save them, and then I've put them, this is a Microsoft Word here, so you just drag them in and then rescale them, copy paste, rescale them a bit smaller, and then a smaller version. So this is your standard sort of size, and these larger ones you can use for bigger panels, or some people had created their own sort of billboard standalone posters with like iron girders around them, and they can just stand as a single piece of terrain, just like a drive-by billboard type thing. So I've done all sorts of sizes, and I've got a good selection here, so that any long-term projects, way off in the future, I've got a good supply of these printed out, ready to use. You just save it as a Microsoft Word document and print it off. So there's that on there. There's some fan ones here I've found. There's some ones that have been adapted from World War II posters. Good news from home, tanks, planes, guns and ships. More production. But it fits with the Imperial Guard really well. One of my favourites here, Let's Go Cadia. Really like that one there. It can happen here. Remember Agralan, so it's talking about a town invasion. This man is your friend. He fights for freedom. It's got a Cadian shock trooper there. This one I think is one of the Games Workshop ones here. The God Emperor Needs You. Join the Astra Militarum today. I think that is a Games Workshop poster, that one just there. I think these ones here as well. This is Know Your Xenos here, and it's given a sort of a crime poster for these different Xenos units. An Orc War Boss here, a Spirits here from the Eldar. I really like this one as well. In the Emperor's Name, Onwards to Victory. Really do like that one. Warning, there's aliens in the air and all the small print. Doesn't matter if you can't read it, it's just that whole kind of feel to it. I found some of these as well, giving you directions to different places. So attention, Medicare is in that direction. Forces of the Phidias Aldari, and it's giving you a silhouette of them. That's for guardsmen to learn the silhouettes of their enemy. I think that's Games Workshop here. This one's adapted from World War II poster. He gave his all for the Emperor. Have you? So really like these. I think this is Games Workshop, this one here. Ultramar, Cleanse the 500 Worlds with March McCragg. Superb. Sector closed on loads of those. I think I thought about doing like a building ruined or sealed off with like a red cross for it, and then just plastered in these, just sector closed off. So there's that. And some posters, you put on the floor as well, look good. They do with less, that you'll have enough, or do with less, so they'll have enough. Rationing gives you your fair share. Your new best friend, it's comes off for the cardsman. Some notices here. Tech support, please hold. Good one for my Skitari terrain. Checkpoint here. Very Soviet sort of style. Circle City Skirmish. I think this one's Games Workshop here. Death Watch, specialists in eradication. Do you have an infestation? So some really good ones. The enemy is listening. It's a brilliant one. So just give you an idea of all the posters that you can get. I've done this one nice and big. You talk of sacrifice. He knew the meaning of sacrifice as a guardsman. Spread out across some barbed wire there. So superb poster, that one. We want you in the guard in this today. Rise up, join the 97th. Acadians here. The Emperor. He fights for the Emperor, do you? Imperium needs you. This one's a Games Workshop one. Know the difference? Always look for the Aquila. Spot the difference. The enemy. 49 guard one. Spot the difference. One of these guardsmen is a traitor. That's the Games Workshop one. So as you can see, loads of options, and I don't think I've found them all. So that gives you an idea of all the posters that are out there. And more. I had to stop after a while because that's more than enough for all the terrain I've got planned and the whole cityscape and so on. Plenty. Just save it. It's one big Word document, and then you can print off whichever pages you need. Right. So next comes the important point here. I follow the tutorial that Games Workshop supplied, and it's mostly based on that. But I've used, to print these, I've used standard paper, and the printers that I have are inkjet printers, so which comes out nice and sharp, no problem at all, colours look okay. So I experimented and did a poster, and then I found that when I put the PVA glue on, the ink starts to run. Not breaks down entirely, but the sharpness starts to go. So what I've done to these pages here, and it seems to work fine, is I spray them with Purity Seal first. So you don't want to do too much, don't want to make it go too cloudy. The colours will come alive a bit more when the PVA glue goes over the top. But I spray here with the Purity Seal, spray it over, and you'll see it sinking into the page and absorbing into the page. And then I flip the page over and then spray the back as well, so it's all covered in that Purity Seal. And the paper sucks it in and it impregnates the paper, and then I found that when the PVA glue then goes on, the ink, the pigment stays where it is and doesn't start to move. So you maybe not need to worry about this if you're going to use perhaps a laser printer. That's burnt onto the page, and so should be fine and shouldn't really move if you put PVA glue on. But for most people, I think it's on inkjet. That's the printers that I use, and so just a helpful trick there. Use Purity Seal, some kind of matte varnish, and use that to give a layer of protection to absorb. It just impregnates the paper and then protects it when you use the PVA glue. So that's a big tip that I found to really get the best out of these posters. So it's quite straightforward. I'm going to choose a poster. We'll go for, we'll stick here. We'll go for this one here, more production. So you choose a page. I've sprayed all of these. These are all ready to go. I'm going to put it onto this terrain here. So the areas that I can, it's not much here, but this sort of area here, it's looking for a smaller kind of poster. So I'm going to choose this one here, it's quite small. I'm going to take the sharp tip of my knife here, and you can use a ruler, but I because these posters can look quite rough and worn, I just do it by hand here. Just follow the line as neatly as possible. And you're just looking to cut the poster out from your page. So I'm just going to run along nice and careful. Like so. There's a poster. Like that. So there it is. The next trick, you can't really notice it, you don't really notice it as much on this one, but I've noticed it on some of the others. You get like that white line around the edge where it's pure paper. So this is where your Seraphim Sepia comes in. Take some of this wash, a little bit on a damp brush. Don't want to do loads because you don't want it spoiling the poster, but I just catch the edge on all four sides. And it just absorbs a bit of that and takes that whiteness away. Just to, you don't look in stark or like you've just cut out paper, you want it to blend in with your terrain. So I put that Seraphim Sepia on there and it's taken the edge off of the white paper there. So you don't need to do the back, just catch the edges of that little trick there just to weather in that poster a little bit. Just wash that out. So we then take our terrain. Going to put some PVA glue onto the palette here. Keep your knife on standby because we'll use that to manipulate the poster a little bit once it's stuck on. But you simply take your poster and then give a pretty liberal coat of this onto the back. Don't worry about the front for now, but the back I'm giving a pretty generous coat of this PVA glue. Rotate the poster around, holding it carefully in one corner, and then just coat the other side. But pretty liberal here, pretty generous with the amount of PVA you're using. Like so. So that's starting to curl there, you can see that. Ready to go on. And I'm just going to stick it. I'm going to go for the left hand side here. So just placing it on. The great thing about this, you don't even have to worry it's straight. So I'm actually going to deliberately put it at a not quite straight angle. And then patiently, because it will take a while for it to bend around, but I'm going to press it down, and then with my finger now I'm going to deliberately roll the page over here like so. I'm deliberately going to pinch this edge like so. Little tricks you can do, but you need to keep pressing down. You gradually form the paper to where it should go, and even that corner, just duff it up a little bit, but just natural kind of. That looks good. Okay, so you see that it just takes a little while for it to settle down, like so. But that's gone on there. Like that. I'm quite happy with that. The poster looks great. But you've immediately got an area of focus, a little bit of, looks quite a professional kind of look to it, these posters. So that's gone on there. Great, it looks good. And I've just rolled that edge over. And with this edge, I can put a bit of Seraphim Sepia onto the back of that just to blend it in as well. But these posters, they're outdoors. They plaster on, but then the edges curl over just like any posters would in real life. So you can do that, but just putting a bit of a crinkle to that one. You can also use the knife to put some damage on them as well. I'm mightily tempted to put another poster on here. Yeah, I'm going to do another one just to illustrate. So I've got a design type one, so I'm just going to put like one that's more of a written notification here. So I'm going to put one of these Imperial Notice posters up next. Yeah, you can disfigure them, you can rip them, cut them, put graffiti over them. There's all sorts of options. So Seraphim Sepia, just catch the edge of this. And the great thing is it doesn't take too long. Not too long to put these up at all. So just going to edge. Catch that edge. And catch the other edge. Just wash that in water. Then I could go I could go, and sometimes like, without putting glue on, just check it. I could go here, put it up against there, looks a bit crammed, or I could just go on the other side and just put the notice up there. Just trying to make it something like that, I think, just at an angle like that would look quite good. So, add this one on as well. Again, nice and generous on the back of the poster with the PVA glue. Roll it around. Do the other side, more glue. Like that. Wherever you think someone would climb up on a step ladder or a head height and then put a poster on to the side of a building. So I think that looks alright like that, and just tilt it at an angle. Again, I might just curl this side in. And I'm going to try and put a bit of a ripple in this one. That's the one. Just by, that's it. And curl up this corner as well. See, I'm working on it here. Like so. Yeah, it looks good. Because they're genuine, they're genuine paper, you can get the right kind of effects with these. So yeah, just tilt it at an angle. Another poster just there. Alright, so I talked about damage. So what you can do is use the tip of the knife, and then I can literally pick away at this poster and pull a piece out. Like a bullet's hit it or it's got ripped. I'm just rolling the paper away from the design, and then it's hanging down. I'm just going to use a finger just to press it back into place. Like so. So you've got a damaged poster there as well. So you can do that. You can use the knife to push a corner in. Create some more damage and so on, just to make it look nice and realistic. But that's the kind of effects you're looking for. I then just wash this PVA glue out of this brush. Wherever I've got edges curling round here, I want to use some Seraphim Sepia just to tone them down. Like so. You see that? It just takes away that, and I use a finger here just to remove some of the spare. And then around here as well. Don't want that stark white colour. I just want to take the edge off of that, and I'll use a bit of Seraphim Sepia just to blend that in. But that looks alright. So then what you can do, what you'll need to do is to try and protect these posters. You want them to stay on your building, not to get ripped and so on. The great thing as well is, if you get battle damage and you've played some games and some posters have got ripped off, then that's realistic, so it may actually look quite good. So just stick another poster over the top, just like they do on real billboards. Poster gets ripped or damaged, they just plaster another poster straight on top. So the maintenance of these is going to be no problem. So in a future date, when I rip posters off, that paper that stayed behind actually probably look quite realistic. So again, with the PVA glue, I'm just looking to give these a coat to seal them and protect them. So again, quite generous over the top. And it's actually enhancing the colour a little bit here as well. But from the ones that have dried, these have been fine. They're well protected once all this glue, this layer of protection goes on. So giving that a coat, I'll just seal the whole thing in nicely. And this notice here, I'll give that a coat, just helping to seal the whole thing in. The bigger posters, just repeating this exact same progress, just on a bigger scale. But this ink is not running here, it's not bleeding or merging, it's staying nice and sharp, and that's the purity seal doing that, holding the pigment in place. But that's that done. So posters where they are, this is the time to get this bit right. If you want this bent down a bit more, you can use the brush to push it down a little bit. But even half curled and hanging off looks good. I like the way it's rolled up there in the corner, so it all looks good here. So I'm just going to leave that, let that dry, and that should set nice and solid. So just whilst that's dry, I'm just going to show you on here. This is a Acadian poster, one of the big ones. I've stuck on the side of one of these containers. You can see I've put the damage on here. That's just a knife, just picking out some holes and then pulling the paper downwards, so it's ripped and then fallen down. And I put some rips and some damage on there as well, just to just make that look nice and realistic. And then look, 2 layers that's on there nice and solid. That's not moving. So that's solidly on there, looking good. I then take some Seraphim Sepia and a brush with a nice sharp tip, and you can just add in a bit of weathering to this. And you can imagine maybe some rust has come down here. And maybe put a little bit running down. Not too much, but a little bit. I think just looks good. Nice and realistic, having these weathering marks. And these posters are outdoors. Might want to do like a little patch of brown. Some markings like so. Just add another layer of realism to these. But happy enough, not too much, just a little bit. And I think that looks great. So just whilst the other bits are drying, I'll do the same. Once these are dry, they will take a while. These aren't dry yet, so I'm not going to do this effect yet. But once they are dry, I'll do the same. Not too much, just a little bit here and there to add a bit more effect. But that's the kind of results you can expect to get. So that one's drying. That's the process. The only thing left to do is this train hasn't been varnished yet, so once these have dried and done my final effects of the washes and so on, I'll just give the whole thing a varnish. That again help to seal the whole thing in and to protect these posters, but there's no reason why these shouldn't last a good while for you and merge nicely into your terrain. They're well protected there with the PVA glue being used to stick them on, and also there's a sealant over the top of them as well. So I'll show you a few more examples of how they can be used. So you've got this here, and then this one's come out well. Do like the colours for that as well, matching in nicely with this. It's Avalon Sunset is the colour here. I do plan to make a tutorial on how to paint the Games Workshop terrain, and then there should also be a terrain tutorial for this piece here, how to paint and upgrade terrain by gamemat.eu, so you can check that out on the channel as well. And for some posters I mentioned earlier, you can really go for, you know, multiple repeats of them, like a real frantic display of propaganda here. So these have been stuck all over this container here, only in Death's Duty End. So I think it looks quite cool, just plastering those all over an area. I would say don't do too much. If you go over the top of them, it's way too much. So this piece here, for example, I put no posters on that one. You do want some buildings with no posters at all, and just have them spread out about right. Here's one big poster on here. We've beaten them before, we'll beat them again for the guard. But that's it, just the one poster, not too many on display. That's the one we saw earlier, with the effects that we added. But just to give you an idea of what you can achieve with these propaganda posters. So it is, that's the video. Keep a lookout for other terrain tutorials. There's others on the channel already. I do plan more in the future just to help you out with your hobby and to get some great results when trying to put terrain together for your games of Warhammer 40,000. But there it is, that's the tutorial for propaganda posters for Warhammer 40,000. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.